Wow, man. Look at us now. We're already week 17, the final week of the NFL season. It's coming to an end. It's coming to an end, gentlemen. So, without further ado, let me introduce myself. I'm Jerry Martinez. I got Walter Stringer, Ned Lennon, and Justin McLaughlin. So, we're going to go ahead and go over the NFL mock draft. So, welcome to our draft show. And we're going to give you picks 1 through 16. And actually, Justin actually is a part of the East West Football Network. He's been a part of the draft team that we have, and is a big Ohio State fan. So don't say anything bad about them right now. But the comment section is open. We'll be more than happy to interact with you guys, engage with you guys. So whatever feedback you want to give it, or whatever you want to think, let us know. So without a further ado, I know that things change, man. Look at this draft. Look at the draft order right now. I mean, they changed dramatically from a week ago when we did this with Broshmo. But we're gonna go ahead and move forward. Justin, you're gonna give us the picks this week, so you're gonna be on that hot seat. So let's go ahead and get started. Pick number one, the Jacksonville Jaguars. What do you think the Jacksonville Jaguars are gonna do with that first pick?
First, I want to say thank you for having me on.
Oh,
It's much appreciated. This is my first time, obviously, being on with you guys, and it's been fun working with everybody thus far. But with the number one pick, obviously, it's no guessing game what Jacksonville is more than likely going to do if Trevor Lawrence declares for the draft. So, obviously, I got Trevor Lawrence going number one to Jacksonville. So, much needed there in Jacksonville. Obviously, they've had multiple quarterback issues, and everybody in there, it's nothing but a carousel. So it'll be really interesting to see how he fits in with that franchise. So
let me give you guys, all three of you guys, a curveball, and I'm gonna ask you guys as a panel real quick. So, what happens? Let's just say Trevor Lawrence says, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and just take my fourth year of eligibility and stay with Clemson because I don't want to be a Jaguar. What do you think they're gonna do with that first pick? Just real quick, Justin, I'm gonna turn it to you because you are the guest of our here.
yeah, I mean, if Trevor Lawrence says he's not coming out, and I guess if you're Jacksonville, you sit there and you're like, okay, let's do the next best thing, and we go and we take the BYU quarterback, Zach Wilson, I guess by default. I
Wow.
think he's talented enough. Um, if you go and you watch his tape, his arm talent is second to none. He makes a bunch of throws that just are eye popping, and I think Zach Wilson is a really really special quarterback. So I think he would be worthy.
Walter, I gotta ask you the same question real quick. I mean, let's just say Trevor decides not to come out. What are you gonna do? You're Jacksonville. I mean, you need it.
Yeah. Well, if the Jags are put in that type of bind, first thing they got to do is trade out. Now, if they can't trade out, and for mock draft purposes, they have to stay there. I'm not as high on Wilson, or even I'm still high on Fields, but I'm not as high on Wilson or Fields being the number one overall pick in this draft. But I understand completely. The Jags are picking number one overall. They may not be back there next year. They may very well be back there next year. But so I would actually understand if they did do it. It's simpler. Well, similar. It's similar to when the Lions finished that 0-16 season and they immediately drafted Matthew Stafford because everyone knew they needed a franchise quarterback. There were a lot of GMs and a lot of scouts who had like late first round grades on Stafford, but they took him because they needed a quarterback. Now, were there potentially better players on the board later on who turned out to be better? Sure, but they filled a need. So I would completely understand if the Jets said, you know what, we'll take Wilson or we'll take Fields, or if the Jags said, you know what, no, we'll take Sewell. In this draft, it's so funny what could really turn out to happen.
Yeah, I think you said it well, Ned. I want to hear what you have to say. Trevor's not there. He decided to stay one more year.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because I mean, it's then all of a sudden probably the worst pick in the first round because you're stuck with no clear number one player anymore, and all of a sudden you have this pick that no one wants to trade into. Because if you think about players who are going to trade up, like you jump in the Jets, who are probably going to take either a Zach Wilson or a Justin Fields. No, neither of which, in my mind, is really worth that one overall pick and trading, potentially 2 first rounders or a first rounder and 2 seconds. So I think here, if you're forced to sit in that position, take Penny Sewell, stick with Minshew Mania for another year, and hope to heck that you land Trevor Lawrence the next season.
If you don't mind me jumping in, Ned, let me ask you this: if Jacksonville doesn't take Wilson, my stock on Fields is totally dropped after watching the Northwestern game. He really took a hit for me. He could fall to the second, third round. I don't know if he's going to be a guy that can be up in that first round. There's just too many things on him. We can get into him later in the show, but as far as Jacksonville passing on a quarterback, obviously the most important position on the field, I feel like that would be a mistake by them. I feel like getting that signal caller and getting a guy that can run your offense, and especially when you've seen tape, you've seen Zach Wilson, what he does with BYU going 10-1 this season and just balling out. I feel like he is deserving of that number 1 spot.
I understand that. I think my big issue with that is we've seen teams, and what kind of talked about this, is when you take the wrong signal caller, is that's going to be a big issue. And for me, there are still going to be some guys that they could potentially have lead that offense that are going to be available at the start of the second round. Guys like Kyle Trask, Mac Jones, potentially Trey Lance. He's dropping out of everyone's sights right now. If they could land a Trey Lance at the 33rd pick, all of a sudden him with Penny Sewell is a huge draft haul. But anything could happen in that afterward situation. Now, if Trevor Lawrence is out this season, he's going to be there next year. Oh, yeah. So you look at when you took Blake Bortles, they had a phenomenal team, a potentially Super Bowl caliber team around him, and you have the wrong guy leading that situation, then your team is all of a sudden back into a rebuild. So that would be my only thing, is I'm not that low on Fields. I think Fields is a phenomenal guy. I don't like the fit in Jacksonville, which is my only issue with that there. I like Zach Wilson. Actually, I'm pretty big. He's my number 2 pick in this draft. But I like the fit in New York better than it would be in Jacksonville. And I think that if you have a chance to maybe land a Trey Lance or even Trevor Lawrence the next year, a guy like Penny Sewell is going to show up that line for 10 years to come.
Sure. Hey, that was an interesting conversation, but let's move it along. So picking number 2, we got the New York Jets. Justin, who are the Jets bringing in?
So I talked to you guys before the show, and you guys were a little shocked, but this is my surprise of the draft. I think the Jets, they stick with Sam Darnold. I think he shows enough these last couple weeks that maybe they have something in him if they just put a few more pieces around him, get another lineman to protect him. And they move back to number 7 to Detroit. I think Detroit moves up to 2 after trading Stafford in the offseason, setting him on a farewell tour to a competitive franchise, and they go ahead and they take Zach Wilson at number 2.
Wow. So Detroit taking Zach Wilson.
Yep.
Wow. I'm pretty sure that would make a bunch of Lions fans, maybe the whole state of Michigan, right, happy, because I think we've all seen enough of Matt Stafford to know that we know his limitations and we know what he does best. But is he the answer? I don't know. Well, what do you think? I mean, do you think that there's a possibility that even if the trade doesn't happen, but Zach Wilson is there, picking later on? I think, what is it, number, just to
7?
Fact check, number 7. They take Zach Wilson. I mean, do you think Detroit is in a much better place?
It's possible. I think if he falls to number 7, the options will definitely be weighed. But I think depending on who the GM is, we don't know who the GM is going to be.
Of course.
And from everything we've heard so far, if it's going to be Louis Riddick isn't moving Stafford anywhere. And from what we hear around the league, there's a lot of people who view Stafford the same way. That's why I really believe the only way Stafford honestly gets moved and they take a quarterback this high is if the new GM comes in with his coach, and is pretty much if it's a younger GM and a younger head coach. That's really what I believe. But I have them actually take it with, well, we'll get to that later, where I have them taking at number 7. But
no
for
problem.
them, I think that roster still has too many holes. And for me to not be as high on him as a lot of people are, Wilson, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it at all. Not that high. I think there's other guys, Detroit, they don't even have to move up to necessarily take the other guys who could actually fall right to them in their laps if they stayed there at 7. So, yeah, I couldn't do it. I think the Lions have more glaring needs. They need a pass rush for sure. They need linebacker help for sure. They're going to lose probably their top 3 wide receivers to free agency. So, I couldn't do it. If it was Trevor, yeah. I'm not trading up for Fields. I'm not trading up for Trey Lance. I'm not trading up for Trask, Mac Jones, Purdy either. I'm not trading up for Purdy.
Ned, what do you think, Ned?
Yeah, I got Zach Wilson to the Jets at number 2. It's the same as last week. The situation hasn't changed from week to week here. I think that Darnold is not necessarily the guy for them. I think he's still going to have another shot in this league with another team. But I like to think that the Jets are going to try and move him probably for a 3rd-round pick is what I think they could field for him. Like you said, earlier on, like a 2nd and 3rd rounder in this draft is potentially worth a 1st. There's so much uncertainty with these guys. Guys are going to be falling, straight after the combine. They can get a 3rd rounder for Darnold to pick up a starter, later on. Take Zach Wilson and just lock in that next quarterback.
I will say this: I'm very impressed with the actual prospect of Zach Wilson. He's actually grown on me. At the beginning, I think when we first started this, I asked in our thread, right? I said, Zach Wilson from BYU. Can somebody just tell me about it? And it was Parker, right? Parker Hall. He's like, he just said it. He said it very clear. He's like, the kid's special, man. Like, he can make every throw, and it's good. It's good to when you go and you try to get other people's feedback on it. I would recommend JT. Is it O'Sullivan or Sullivan? Walter
O'Sullivan.
So he has it's called what is it? The quarterback. What is his YouTube channel called?
It's the quarterback class.
The quarterback class. Yeah. So you guys go check that out on YouTube. And JT did not pay us to say that, but you got to give props where props is due. Yeah, it was crazy because JT has the all 22 access for the collegiate games, and he was able to break down the good, the great, the what is the pretty, the bad, the ugly, and he was able to actually like give you the different angles that we normally cannot see when we're scouting some of these players. But man, some of the throws that he was doing, and that in that game that JT O'Sullivan was highlighting, I saw that same throw made last night by Josh Allen, where he's running to one side and completely flips his hips and just darts a pass just right on the money. So I'm gonna tell you this, Zach Wilson. From whatever we've been hearing, it's crazy. We've been hearing some crazy things about him, but the kid has an arm, and it just from I mean, just the way you've been coached up right from hip to throwing motion, he has it, and he has a lot of zip on that arm. So
obviously the NFL draft process will help help his stock too. So hopefully he performs well there and shows everybody he can do that.
For sure. Who do you got picking 3rd? So right now picking 3rd, this is a big surprise, right? Because the Bengals were sitting pretty, looking like they had the left tackle for the future for Joe Burrow, but now we got Miami, and Miami got this pick from Houston. So I'm sorry, Texas fans. Miami has this pick, and they're in they're I don't want to say they've officially made it to the playoffs, right? Because they I think they threw a stinker last week. But right now they are picking 3rd. Who do you have in your mock draft for the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, my mock draft at number 3, I have the Dolphins taking a big playmaker, deep threat guy, and Devontae Smith from Alabama.
Wow.
I think he helps that team stretch the field. He's a guy that could take the top off, and it's something that I think that Tua will benefit from, and I think he's a good pick for them.
Hey, I want to hear Walt. Walt, what do you think? I mean, I know that you've said that a lot of us have forgotten about the other wide receiver that was supposed to be the first pick, but Devontae has done enough this season to show us, hey, look at what Justin Jefferson can do for your team.
Yeah, I like the pick for the Dolphins. I just don't like it at that number. I'm not comfortable taking Devontae Smith 3rd overall. I actually when I updated my mock today, I actually have them taking Kwity Paye. I think by the time the draft rolls around, and he works out at the combine. He has his pro day. His stock is hotter right now than anybody's. And when teams fall in love with a huge pass rusher who's athletic and who has scheme versatility, those guys tend to get pushed up very high. I think by the time the draft rolls around, Pay could probably be a top 5 pick. I think he'll end up going ahead of Russo.
Ned, what do you think?
Plus I think that if you look at Brian Flores and his 3-4 scheme, they don't really do it with a lot of sheer talent. They do it with a lot of smoke and mirrors and linebacker confusion. And I think if you put a pass rusher with the talent of Pay on the edge of that 3-4, a guy who can get consistent pressure on the quarterback and maintain the run consistently, it'll free up everybody even more. Flores' head would explode if he had a guy who can get consistent pressure. Because right now he's doing a great job scheming everybody open. But I think at number 3, the value will be there if it pays on the board. Because I don't see them taking Surtain at that spot. We're really not sure about Michael Parsons right now. And I think Pay would really help them out more than anybody else.
I like the pass rush pick. What about have you watched any tape on Jalen Smith at all? Or Jalen Phillips, I'm sorry, out of Miami.
Yeah. Phillips is a specimen. I'm just glad he finally put it together. I forgot about him for a couple of years when he was out there at UCLA, but he seemed to finally put it all together. I'm just kind of fearful with guys who don't put it all together to the very end before they leave college. So,
sure.
Ned, do you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it short and sweet. I think, Houston trading for Laramie Tunsil in hindsight looks kind of a little bit silly, especially with this Penny Sewell on the board. You get him on a rookie deal. I've got Penny Sewell going to Miami if they have to stick here. Again, I think like Walter and Justin have said, I don't know if they're going to stick with this pick. I think they're going to have value a little bit further down for a team that maybe wants to trade up and get Justin Fields before there's a full run on quarterbacks.
Yeah. So just to recap, so we have the Jaguars picking Trevor Lawrence. On the second, we had the Lions trading up to draft Zach Wilson, and picking third, Miami was going Devontae Smith. Who do you got picking fourth for the Atlanta Falcons, Justin?
For the Atlanta Falcons, I had Gregory Rousseau.
Yeah.
Is that how you say his last name? Pass rusher out of Miami. I just feel like, they only have 28 sacks on the year currently. A pass rush is definitely needed in Atlanta. And I think he would definitely help that team out in a tremendous way.
What do you think, Walt?
I agree with it. It wasn't the pick I made, but it makes complete sense. If you look at that team has been, I really can't understand how that team has been that bad defensively for as long as they've been. Outside of the injuries, I understand they've been beat up, one of the most beat up teams in football the last 2 or 3 years. But yeah, defensively they've been horrible. So the Russo pick or any pass rusher, any one of the top handful of pass rushers would make sense. I had them taking Surtain at that pick. I think if you take Surtain, you pair him with A.J. Terrell, you've got something special potentially on that back end. They could be losing Keanu Neal soon. Maybe, maybe not. So, of course, they're not going to take a safety that high. But I think for them, Surtain would make a lot of sense also. But the pick has to be it has to be defense.
Ned?
Yeah, I agree. And it's kind of funny as we go around the table, we all agree defense, but we've all got different players, and it kind of goes to show what the 2020 draft is going to be. So I've got Micah Parsons. I think that they need to show up the center of the field, and I think a guy who can generate pressure from a Mike linebacker position is going to be really valuable for the Falcons defense. Again, it's going to kind of come down to, who are they going to end up with as a head coach, whether that's going to be a guy who values, an edge rusher, a linebacker, or a corner. They may even shock everybody and go for somebody on offense. I know their center position is going to need an upgrade as well. You just never know with these. But, yeah, I've got Micah Parsons going at number 4 to the Falcons.
All right, let's recap it. So Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence. 2, the Jets are trading back with the Lions, and the Lions are drafting Zach Wilson at number 2. 3, Miami was taking Devontae Smith, and 4, the Falcons are taking Gregory Rousseau. Who do you have the Bengals picking at 5?
At 5, I had Penei Sewell, offensive tackle. I think it's a great fit for them. I think their offensive line was 31st ranked currently. So definitely much needed. Obviously, Joe Mixon couldn't get anything going this year with that line. It's just been a rough year for the Bengals up there up front. So I think Penei will definitely help anchor that blind side of Joe Burrow.
Wow, can you okay, guys, real quick. I don't think there's much to debate here. If this was to happen, wouldn't you think all the Cincinnati Bengals and even the fan base, the whole city would be just jumping for joy, right? For this happening. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a dream case scenario as Sewell falls, and it could be possible, right? Because Sewell was one of the first players to opt out in this 2020 season because of the whole COVID thing. But let's go ahead and just move along. So, who do you have picking six for the Eagles, man?
For the Eagles, to me, it's a no-brainer. I think you go with the Blitnikoff Award winner, Jamar Chase here. I think you go get yourself a stud wide receiver, which is much needed for whoever is at quarterback there, whether it's Jalen Hurts or Carson Wentz. Give him a weapon, give him a go-to guy. Jeffries is too hurt. The last couple seasons they've had to make a couple guys come off the streets and work, and that's just not a recipe for success in the NFL. So I think Jamar Chase definitely helps out the Philadelphia Eagles here.
So this is where it gets interesting because at 7 initially it was the Lions, but they traded up to get Zach Wilson at 2. This is where the Jets are picking. Who do you have the Jets picking at 7?
At 7, I have the Jets taking Jalen Waddle.
Jalen.
Again, I think getting another receiver with them, giving another weapon to Sam Darnold, giving him a deep threat, giving him something to work with, I think will definitely help him out. You can't go wrong at pass protection. I liked the lineman out of USC.
Elijah
Also-
Vera Tucker.
Yes, I
So-
like him as well. I think he would be a good fit there because they have multiple needs. He's a multiple guy. He could play guard. He could play tackle. So I think Tucker would be also on their radar as well. So
Real quick, what do you guys think? I mean, Walt, Net, anybody?
Well, it solves some needs. It definitely solves some needs. I think if the Jets trade out of number 2 and they trade back to 7, I'm really not sure if they would take a wide receiver. I think they would probably take an impact defensive player, even though there's really no quarterbacks left on the board unless they feel that great about Fields. If they feel like we can trade out of number 2 and, hey, forget it, we're just as happy with Justin Fields as we would have been with Zach Wilson, plus we picked up some extra picks. Because I think Justin Fields has that ability to get out and move. No, he's a great athlete. I don't think he necessarily needs a great offensive line. Now, he's fraudulent on a lot of levels that he needs to really clean some things up. He looked great. I'm not one of those people that's going to completely throw Justin out. I think Justin has been so good for so damn long in his career from the age of 14 to now. I think it's kind of unfair that people are just taking him and throwing him away, saying he can't play football, he can't throw, he's a mini Cam Newton. Like, they're really running him through the dirt right now. And
I don't think he's a mini Cam Newton.
Yeah, I've heard so many silly comparisons. And like I told Jerry before, it's like, if you thought this dude didn't have a big chip on his shoulder before, being second to Trevor Lawrence his entire life, now he's hearing he's nothing. I just don't see Fields failing unless he just goes to an awful situation. And I don't like him with the Jets. I don't like Trevor Lawrence with the Jets. I don't want anybody to go to the Jets.
I don't either.
I wouldn't wish that on anybody, honestly. So I was so happy when the Jags won. When the Jags got that number 1 pick, I was happy for him, honestly. So yeah, I think they would probably go a defense player. Is Farley a possibility?
Caleb Farley?
Farley? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. Or Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain, by Pro Football Focus standards, was recently graded the highest defensive back in the country. So I think to me, he's going to be the first guy to come off the board if anybody goes off.
Yeah.
Net?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Walt. I don't know if a wide receiver is necessarily the value pick at this point. I would probably shore up the interior offensive line first. Maybe grab a Wyatt Davis or one of the other guys who is a little bit more of a run blocker. Try and get their running game going, keep the passing game clean, maybe work some play action. Again, it comes down to who is going to be their quarterback coach next year. Are they going to be a guy who wants to go for Darnold, or are they going to want to go for somebody like a Justin Fields? I think that's going to be really telling who they go after and what that person's opinion of Darnold is. Do they go for a guy who wants to remake the Darnold career? And if that's the case, I think you've got to really protect him, give him a running game to work off of. There's going to be some good running backs at day 2 that they can grab with their second or third round. And especially if they clean house with the Lions picks and manage to pick up something good, then there's a good chance that they also manage to grab themselves an extra couple of players in the second round.
I'm gonna just say one thing. Jalen Waddle is an extremely talented individual. I think that when you look at him before he went down with the whole ACL, the way he was able to get out jump everybody, and for him being a smaller type of
Jerry,
wide receiver, I mean, he looked like
I've been saying that he plays like Steve Smith. Like he plays.
I
Tell people
was
he's
a-
not just the track guy. Like before
yeah,
the season, people thought he was just a track guy. Like, no, this dude has improved as a wide receiver.
yeah.
He snatches the football. He high points the football. He runs aggressive. He looks like a mini faster Steve Smith.
Or even a closest version to Tyreek Hill as possible, without the attitude, of course.
Yeah.
So let's move along. So we got the G-men picking 8th. What do you got, Justin? Who do the G-men? What do you think the G-men should do here?
Well, at number 8, I liked them going to getting a playmaker. I don't know if Rashad Bateman is one of those guys that can go that early, as much as I like him. So defensively, I would have to go and shock everybody with a Jalen Phillips on that DN. I think if you match him up with what they got interior-wise with Dexter Lawrence and Leonard, I'm drawing a blank here. Who's the other guy that they got there? Leonard Williams?
Yes, that's the defense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would complete your front. I think you're talking about a front that looks like, San Francisco and the Reds are not the Redskins, but the Washington football team. So I think that would really complete them.
Yeah, and just real quick, we talked about Jalen Phillips. So he may not be a mainstream name that a lot of people know of. He plays for right now. He's a Hurricane. He was previously with UCLA. He's having a phenomenal year with the actual Hurricanes. He looks like a madman out there. He's long, he's strong, he's lengthy, and he gets to the quarterback. And like you said, I think anytime you can find that kind of pass
Pardon me.
rush, bless you. If you can find that kind of pass rush, I mean, that's what every NFL team wants on their defense.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I like it for the simple fact that it's solving an issue, is helping with them, and it's also the Giants have really came along defensively as the season unfolds. Also, personally, in my last mock I had offensive lineman, and I still do. I have them taking Christian Darshaw.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you look at the Giants offensively, they invested 2 top 10 picks over the last 2 years in 2 offensive players, and they can't keep either one of them in one piece. They owe it to Saquon to really be able to give him some abilities to hit some holes. They owe it to the quarterback as well. We keep hearing Danny Dimes, but you guys can't keep him upright. He turns the ball over a lot. Because he's consistently forced out of his comfort zone. He's forced to do too much when he's not ready to do that. So I think if they would just continue to focus on the offensive line, I understand they took Andrew Thomas last year. He's been okay. I'm not sure about his arm length. I wouldn't be surprised if he got kicked inside to guard eventually. I think he's athletic enough for guard. I don't think he's athletic enough to play on the outside at either tackle position. But they have to fix that offensive line because they can't keep giving these guys weapons and the core is still soft. They're soft in the middle, and they've been soft in the middle for too long. That's the reason why the quarterback, Daniel Jones, can't stay healthy. Saquon, every time Saquon takes the ball in the backfield, he's got to dodge 3 or 4 people before he can even get to the line of scrimmage. There's no reason why a running back with his talent level should average 3 yards a carry. Ever. It's terrible. And I think they really need to fix that offensive line.
So let's move along. We got the Panthers, man. I think the Panthers are picking right now 9th right after the G-Men. What do you think? I mean, Matt Rule has came into the league by storm. I mean, he's doing things his way. I mean, I think if any wild card is out there, I think this is the team that will go up and try to trade up for Zach Wilson. But let's go ahead and stick to your draft, Justin. Who do you got the Panthers?
Yeah, so I think much needed for them defensively is linebacker. After a few guys have departed from that team, I think that's a major hole that they've got right now.
Absolutely.
So Micah Parsons to me would be the selection here. I think he would be a great fit in Carolina, kind of taking over for Luke Kuechly and kind of like what he left over and make that kind of an impact at Mike linebacker. So I like Micah here.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. And if he's still sitting there, I'm pretty sure we're all on board with that. So let's move on. So you got the Denver Broncos picking 10th.
Yeah, same thing with the Broncos. I think we go back-to-back linebackers here with Jeremiah Owusu, and I think they get another linebacker there in Denver to help them out.
Wow. Hey, Walt, what do you think?
Yeah, we agree. I'm pretty sure everybody's going to agree. Defense is where the Broncos have to go. They got some names. They got some really good players, and Justin Simmons on that back end. I hadn't taken Gregory Rousseau. I had Rousseau fall into this spot. I think 10 is a good spot for him. He's still sort of a project, given the fact that by the time the draft rolls around, he wouldn't have played football in a year and a half almost. Correct. So I think at number 10 is a good spot to take him. You can get him in there, and if Elway hits on him, he can really help open up that offense for Chubb and everybody else.
Nat, what do you think about the prospect, Jeremiah?
Jeremiah, I actually love him. I think he's great. A lot of what makes him good is his versatility. He's kind of in that tweener spot between safety and linebacker.
Yeah.
Could develop into someone like a Buda Baker style role. I think he's still got a little bit of development to go, but great athlete. I actually have him dropping down a little bit later in the draft. The Broncos, I think, with the potential and probably impending departure of AJ Boye, I actually have them taking Caleb Farley at this point. I think that they can get a good instinctive corner to really come in and pick up, build that defensive secondary that they had when they made their championship run. I think that's going to alleviate a lot of pressure from Drew Lock. And at that point, if you give him a good defense and playmakers and he's still not stepping up, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade for a quarterback partway through the season as well.
So let me see if I can do a little recap. Let me see if I can remember this. Jacksonville was selecting Trevor Lawrence. The Jets traded to the Lions, and the Lions selected Zach Wilson. The Dolphins selected Devontae Smith, and the Falcons got Gregory Rousseau. The Bengals got Penei Sewell. We had the Eagles drafting Jamar Chase, and at number 7, the Jets getting Jalen Waddle. The G-men, we had said on this one. This is where I need my head.
Phillips, defensive end.
Jalen Phillips, okay. And we had Denver. Oh no, I'm sorry. We had the Panthers selecting Micah Parsons. Then we had Denver selecting. I do not want to butcher his name, but Jeremiah Owusu from Notre Dame, the linebacker. And right now we're picking 11, the Dallas Cowboys, America's team.
Talking point.
Sit down, Jerry.
Everybody's
talking point.
Team in the world.
Yeah. Yep. So, Jerry, I got your Cowboys taking something in the secondary, and I like Patrick Surtain right here.
Woo! I
think he's a guy that comes in and makes an immediate impact for this franchise and gives them a security on one half of the field there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, I'm gonna say it. Trayvon Diggs has looked phenomenal this year. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, they played together at Alabama. You get this pairing right here. The Cowboys are going to have the best cornerback duel that they've had in years, probably since I've been watching the Dallas Cowboys play. And that's because they had Deion Sanders at one time. But still, you're talking about 2 potential shutdown corners And wow, watch out. That whole NFC East, who are you gonna throw it to? I mean, you're gonna try to pass it to your wide receiver? No, I'm sorry. The Dallas Cowboys cornerbacks are gonna come away with some picks. Well, what do you think? I mean, if this dream case scenario fell down, do you think that the would this be a perfect match for the Dallas Cowboys?
Absolutely. I don't have Surtain falling that far, but if he does, it's a no-brainer to take. I actually, I had the Cowboys going defense too. I actually had them taking Patrick Jones out of Pittsburgh. Um, I think he fills a big need that they have right now. He's a great leader in that locker room. To me, he has the best combination of size, speed, acceleration, strength, power, everything. Hey, listen, when he gets to the quarterback, he finishes. He's not one of those close but no cigar edge rushers who wreaks a lot of havoc and is just swiping at air when he gets around the corner. He forced what was it 4 or 5 fumbles last season? He forced a couple more this season. The sacks are there. His stats consistently improved every year. I just think Patrick Jones is one of the most underrated players in this draft, mainly because he's a senior and people are kind of biased against seniors. But I think for them, as long as it's defense, I don't see Jerry Jones going offense with this pick at all. Not even offensive line. It has to be defense. And I think it has to be a player like Surtain, an elite prospect, or another type of elite prospect that they really bring in to help change that defense, because right now things really stink in that locker room. You can tell.
Oh yeah. Ned, what do you want to talk about? I mean, what do you want to say about the Cowboys? Sorry.
Look, I think, and we kind of talked about this before, I actually think Cowboys are going to end up making the playoffs, which is going to throw their first round completely out of order. I have absolutely no arguments. If Surtain falls down to this pick, you'd be an idiot not to take him. Like, what an absolute dream scenario to get that. I don't think he falls that far. I've actually got them taking Kwity Paye here. I think that if you have, again, Paye falling down to 11-2, you got to take a guy like that to really generate that pass rush and, put some more meat on that defensive line.
Yeah, I think if they do make it into the playoffs and let's just say they're 1, and then I think that they would be picking around 19, 18, 19. So yeah, a lot can change. And come this week, I'm pretty sure every true Cowboy fan is cheering for the Cowboys to make it into the playoffs. But long run, I mean, from what we've seen and what we hear, Cowboys in a safety, but obviously there's not a safety that we can all say right now that there is. Maybe next year, Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame will be that first round safety that we have not seen in a couple of years. But in this draft, I'm sorry, there's no safety to take in the first round. So let's keep this money machine rolling. We got the Chargers selecting 12.
Yeah, so obviously they've got a lot of weapons on the offensive side of the ball, but I feel like the one inconsistent part is tight end, and I like the very talented Florida Kyle Pitts to go right here to the Chargers. Gives Justin another security blanket outside of Keenan Allen. Mike Williams seems like a guy who's just he's there and then he's not there, so who knows what his future is going to be like. But I feel like that he would be a great fit in LA.
I think there's no disagreement here. Would you guys? I mean, or do you want to disagree?
I don't disagree. As long as it's offense, I had to take in Rashawn Slater, but yeah, if Pitts falls there to them too, I think he helps out a lot. He adds so many dimensions to that offense, and maybe even further opens up things for Keenan Allen. So, I love it. They may part ways with Mike Williams eventually anyway. So why not make sure you have Herbert another weapon for the next few years?
And they'll save a lot of money with it. They'll save a lot of money without having to re-sign Hunter Henry. I'm pretty sure with that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Hunter Henry, he had so much promise coming into the league, and everybody's like, if this guy can just stay healthy, and he's just proven he just can't. And when you're missing 2 out of the last 3 years or whatever it is, the saying is your availability is your best ability. So I think Kyle Pitts is the pick for them.
So we got the Vikings. Who do you got, Justin, picking for the Vikings?
For the Vikings, I like the pass rusher out of Michigan. Let me see here. Yeah, Kwity Paye. Yeah. Yeah, I like him a lot. After letting go a couple pass rushers just recently, I think he fills in the spot. They could go secondary too. They need a lot of help in the secondary, but I feel like that as far as my draft analysis here, I feel like that would be a hell of a selection.
Yeah, if he's there, I mean, I'm pretty sure
Right.
there's no teams that are going to be wanting to draft up for Quiddy Pay. I mean, I think like well, I mean, even Walt said it earlier. Quiddy Pay is the type of player that's going to blow it up in the combine. I mean, he's just going to be. I mean, he's strong, he's fast, he's just chiseled. I mean, just everything that you want in a defensive end. So we got the Patriots picking 14th, and man, it's crazy, right? To see the Patriots picking so high in the draft. I mean, what's the answer for the New England Patriots here, Justin?
Yeah, so I like them taking the linebacker out of Kentucky. Let me
Rump, Chris Rump. Oh no, he's from Duke. I'm sorry.
no. I can't find him on my list. I'm sorry about that. I thought I had him on here. Well, my other selection for them was actually had two for them. Was Trevon Flowers out of Tennessee. Pro Football Focus currently has him the highest ranked safety in the country. He's only allowed 105, I think. No, he's allowed 47 yards on 6 catches is what I have down for my notes for him. So I feel like he's a guy that can lock it down on the back end. And, with McCourty getting older and he's going to be exiting out here pretty soon, he could be a guy that could help them out. But the linebacker out of Kentucky would be I feel like they need help at linebacker.
It's easy to see when you look at the New England Patriots. I think we all want to kind of say like, isn't it time that they actually draft a quarterback, right? And I understand like you're absolutely right. They have holes on defense that they need to address. But I mean, when you have a player like Kyle Trask or Mac Jones, who's been getting a lot of steam lately from Alabama, that quarterback. I mean, don't you hear those murmurs? Don't you think that maybe New England maybe should take a flyer on a quarterback, especially?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't disagree if they went and said, "Hey, we're going to go with Kyle Trask." I would be all for that. I think that'd be a pretty decent selection. But as far as New England goes defensively, they're nowhere near where they were a year ago. Right now, I think they're bottom 25 right now in sacks. They only have 21 on the season. They can't get a pass rush to save their life. So whether you go pass rush, linebacker, safety, I just feel like it's a need for them.
So we got the 49ers. I'm not going to say I'm not going to say who's a fan of the 49ers here.
Yeah.
Ned, but I
Ned, don't kill me too much now on this one.
Okay, let's hear it.
Don't kill me either. Don't kill me either.
So I'm not a big Jimmy Garoppolo guy. To me, he's not I don't think he's a guy that you can go forward saying that you're completely confident that he can take your team. And I just feel like there's just too many inconsistencies with him. So with that being said, I like the 49ers to select Kyle Trask. So I think they go ahead and they take a shot at this kid and see what he does. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan is a wizard offensively, and I know that he could create an environment for this kid to really succeed in.
Wow. I'm going to let Ned go first on this. So, Ned, what do you think of Kyle Trask as the newest member of the San Francisco 49ers?
I think, I think a couple things to unpack with that. So Kyle Trask as a quarterback would not be a bad choice for the 49ers. You know, they don't rely on a guy who can work a run game with the outside reads or anything like that. He simply needs to hand off, play action, bootleg. He needs that bare minimum athleticism. What they really need is a guy who is short, accurate game, is on point, who has a quick release, a good read of that first and second read on the defense, and a guy who doesn't turn the ball over. And I think we've seen that Nick Mullins isn't that guy. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's halfway there, and I agree, Justin. I think he's done as much development as we're probably likely to see from him. The thing I will say about this pick is that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are still very high on Jimmy. And when your coach and your GM are very high on that quarterback, with the 15th pick, I don't think that they take a quarterback. And it's just simply reading all the media. Nothing has been that whole like, yeah, he's our guy. Like you sort of hear from teams when they're right about to pass a guy at the trade deadline. This is very much a case of, if we had Jimmy right now, this would be a very different team. If he wasn't injured, even with everything else that's happened, this would be a very different team. And so I think that what they're more likely to do is going to depend on how their negotiations go with guys restructuring. I think there's a possibility Jimmy actually restructures to stay with the team.
I was getting ready to ask you that, yeah.
Yeah, so, he's very much at a point now in his contract where if they cut him, then they lose nothing. So there is a very good chance that he gets traded. I think there's a chance that he restructures his deal. Dee Ford is a guy who I've heard, is probably likely to end up on the trade block. He's got a big cap number that we need to get rid of. And there's a few other guys that we need to re-sign. Jason Verrett, I think they're probably going to look to re-sign. We all know that Richard Sherman is probably not likely to stay. And then you've got your pick between Emmanuel Mosley and Ahkello Witherspoon. Neither has been the answer. So for me, I actually have them going for Shaun Wade here. I don't know that I love the pick. Shaun Wade, I think, has been a very solid, if unspectacular guy coming out of Ohio State. He's been overshadowed by better corners, but he fits the 49ers model. And he is that guy. He comes in at 6'1", $195. He's a big, aggressive corner that I can see them sitting back in a bit more of a man coverage situation, which they have been lacking. They've got guys who are very much zone. But if you switch out of Richard Sherman, who is pretty much that man off or zone coverage guy, and you move to someone like Shaun Wade, it opens up a few more options when they get guys like Nick Bosa back next year. So I think that this pick has to start rebuilding that secondary. They've got big decisions to make with Jaquiski Tartt as well. He's a guy who could end up potentially not coming back, in which case they're left with a massive hole at free safety with no answers to fill that. So I think that they have to go secondary here. I like the chance of having, say, a Mac Jones available on day 2. And I think that he also suits the 49ers system. He makes good reads. He makes sensible football decisions. You put enough playmakers around him, and he doesn't have to carry the team. And I think that that's the kind of quarterback the 49ers roll with.
Makes perfect sense. I've never really heard it from like an actual 49ers perspective, But let's go ahead and end it off. We got the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's just say Fidel's Las Vegas Raiders, right?
Oh yeah, Mr. Barraza. Yeah. Forgot about that.
Yeah. So Oakland Raiders, they're picking 16th, which
Yeah,
will
16th.
end out our mock draft for today. Who do you got the Raiders picking?
Yeah, so obviously they've invested heavily into the secondary lately. So I feel like a linebacker is another thing that they could definitely use. And I like Nick Bolton out of Missouri. I feel like he's a guy that can come in and really help them out. So I like that. I like him at that selection. And the other linebacker that I was talking about earlier, I found his name, Jermaine Davis out of Kentucky for the Patriots.
Jermaine Davis. And that always seems like a New England Patriots pick, right? Or a Steelers pick, right? Where, they pick a random person in the first round. Now, you won't be here for Thursday's picks 17 to 32, but we'd like to hear, since I hate to put you on the spot, but you are a Browns follower, a fan,
Yeah.
right? Hey, they've had a pretty good season this year. I mean, it looks
Yep.
like the coach is finding a way to get the team to win, especially on their matchups on the offensive line, opening up the running game and even the passing game. So, give us your pick for the Cleveland Browns. I believe they're picking
22.
22. Yeah. My pick for Cleveland is definitely much needed secondary. You can go linebacker. If a Nick Bolton's there, I don't know if he'll fall that far. Jermaine Davis, those type of guys. Linebacker is definitely a need. Secondary, we've had inconsistencies with being able to stay healthy. We've had Sendejo back there. He's not played very well. We drafted a bunch of LSU boys with Grant Delpit and Greedy Williams. Greedy Williams just can't stay healthy for the life of him. And Grant Delpit, we don't know what he's going to be. We have a lot of promise in him. If he comes back and continues what he did at LSU, we'll be looking really, really good back there. with Harrison, our newly acquired safety from the Jaguars. But I really like Darian Kendrick, the corner out of Clemson. I think that he could be a guy that could fill in Greedy's absence. I feel like we probably should just move on from Greedy and cut our losses there.
Hey, I mean that guy. His name was also been picking up steam, and he seems like a very interesting prospect. Anybody who comes out of that Clemson program always
Yeah.
seems like a great prospect. So let's just see if we can kind of sum it up. And let me see if I'm probably gonna need your help with some of these picks. We had Jacksonville, right? Just to recap the top your NFL mock draft picks 1 through 16. Jacksonville,
Yep.
you had Jacksonville Jaguars selecting.
Trevor Lawrence.
You had the New York Jets selecting.
Uh,
Oh, they're traded. They traded with
trading out to the Lions, taking Zach Wilson.
Lions take Zach Wilson. Third, Miami Dolphins selected Devontae Smith.
Yep.
We had the Falcons selecting Gregory Rousseau, the defensive end from Miami, who opted out this year.
Yep.
And the Bengals, they hit the lotto in Penny Sewell.
Yep.
At fifth, at number 6, the Eagles, they had Jamar Chase. The Detroit pick. Now the Jets pick, you had them picking Jalen Waddle.
Yep.
You had the G-men going Jalen Phillips, defensive end out of Miami, also.
Yep.
Panthers, you had
Or they could go. I had my other pick there was Wyatt Davis, guard out of Ohio State.
Oh, that's right. And
Yeah.
then moving along, you had the Panthers selecting Micah Parsons.
Yep.
And then we had the Denver Broncos selecting Jeremiah Owusu, the Northern linebacker. We
Yep.
had the Cowboys picking Patrick Surtain II.
Yep.
The Chargers selecting Kyle Pitts, and we had the Vikings selecting Kwity Paye. We had the Patriots selecting the linebacker out of Duke, right? No, not Duke.
Kentucky, Jermaine Davis.
Jermaine Davis. So
Yeah.
we got to get familiar with that name. We had the 49ers selecting Kyle Trask. We had the Raiders ending it off with
The linebacker, Nick Bolton, out of Missouri.
Nick Bolton. So that wraps up today's show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Tune in Thursday. We will be going through pick 17 to 32 with another member of our draft team. As always, we want to thank you for joining in and stay tuned.